next to us. You might want to go around. It's totally up to y'all. What we're going to attempt to bring today is something we've been working on for a long time. And I know a lot of other people have done the same thing. Now, did we come up with the same thing they did? We'll see. I think when we first started this is, as most of y'all probably know, Rick and I, we go to the jail, the Ford County Jail, pretty much every Thursday. And one of the classes there came up with, or in one of the pods that we came up with, someone said, what day are we in? Because we were talking about and teaching on the end times. So I'll pose that question to y'all, what day are we in? Does anyone know?
2018.
2018, that is exactly the answer that we got. Actually, it was 15 or 14 when we first started. So, okay, now I'll ask you, are y'all the same question? 2018 from what? You answered so. 2018 from what? Okay, you don't know. Probably, I mean, you might. But anyway, it spurred us to want to do a time chart and try to find out exactly where we are. And the reason we wanted to find a time chart is because there were so many verses that lend to a 6 plus 1. Okay, the Father took 6 days to create and he rested on the Sabbath. A slave, if you take a Hebrew slave, you are to work them for no more than 6 years, and on the 7th year they are released and owe you nothing. But anyway, the pattern of 6 plus 1 kept coming up. Okay, now, one of the things that makes me think that this was a pattern, or us to think this was a pattern, was that Adam was told, while he was still in the garden, of the day that you eat of this fruit, you will die. Did he die in a 24-hour period?
No.
Absolutely not. Okay, so it meant something different. Now, Adam died. Again, this is what we tried to do is go straight from Scriptures. Only taking Scriptures to try to get to a timeline to find out where we are today. Okay? And we're going to try to get as close to that. And now I'm going to say it could be give or take a week, give or take 7 years. Okay, Adam died from his creation at 930 years. In our opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion, Adam had to die before day 1, 1,000 years concluded.
Yep.
So are we setting a pattern? And do we have, maybe as human beings, a 6,000 year completion? Okay. 6 days shall thou work. And on the 7th, or Sabbath, you'll rest. Okay, I'm of the opinion, as is Rick, that because of this, sets a pattern for the year, or for the day. Okay, now again, what year are we in? 2018 from something. As we started this, we found out, I like to say that there's pepper put on the trail. And if you've ever taken a dog out and tried to track something, if someone's put something on the trail, that dog's going to lose its scent. And we found that the majority of the pepper has been put right here at the death of the Messiah. And when we looked at other people's charts, we found out there's a guy named Usher who was a monk back in the 1500s. He did a time chart, okay? And when you first read it, he says, well, Adam was created, this was 4004 BC. BC, from what? Okay? And then when it went past it, he said, well, this is AD. When you try to apply AD and BC and CBC to the Word, the Scriptures, this is pepper. It's going to throw you off both ways, as it did us, okay? So that's, again, we didn't want to take something that, a chart, and start it with something that's wrong to start with, okay? So, again, now, was talking about, back about in the jail, back at least 4 years ago, it's different than, okay, like I said, we go to county jail, and Al and several others go to Hodges, the state. Okay, ours I'm sure is different than y'all's. We have short-termers, y'all probably have long-termers. So a pod, I think there's 7 pods, 2 dorms, 2 are female pods that we've never been in, and then there's a couple trustee dorms. And when we go in, we don't know where we're going to go. We'll just decide to go in one wherever the Father leads us. But it led us to 2 dorms that were interested in the same thing. So we would bring them as much stuff as we could. Of course, we give Bible. And we gave them a rough chart of time. And we asked 2 different pods, because they wanted to do it, to do their timeline and see if we came up with the same thing. The majority of them didn't get much past Jacob, right? Abraham, some did come in here, but none, very few got past this, okay? So anyway, this is not Rick and I's first one. We've done several. This is the latest. Now, about this one, you may agree, you may disagree with the way we started. And so I'm going to put a disclaimer on it. Okay, when we were doing the first, I couldn't make some things work, and when I got to the end, things that I thought that would be taking place were not taking place. So I said, well, either I'm bad off, or I could have started wrong. Okay, so again, this is where you may disagree with me. I found the Book of Jubilee. Whether you give credit to the Book of Jubilee or not, the Book of Jubilee says that Eve was 7 years, 2 months, and 12 days when Satan deceived her. So then my question to myself was, well, does time, if man is given 6,000 years, does that time start at creation? When I believe Adam and Eve were created to be eternal? Until the fall.
He didn't start to die
He didn't start to die until he ate, until he was deceived, until he disobeyed the one law he had, the Father gave him. Okay, so now this chart, like I said, starts 7 years, the others inside the garden. And although I put here that Adam was 130 years old when Seth was born, he was 123 from the fall, after he ate. Okay? Agree or disagree? Okay. Now let me go back and say this. If you're new to the assembly, I'm just like Jerry, or Jordan or Al. If you don't already know, we have teachers, not preachers. Okay? Our assembly has teachers. And I want to do the same thing. And with a teacher, I want y'all to treat me just like you do with them. You have a question, raise your hand. You know, we'll see if we can go answer it. Okay? So anyway, I just want to throw that out there. Okay. So putting 7 years back scoops everything 7 years. This one. Follow me? Now I want to, although our attempt is to get to here before we conclude today, to see what year we are in. Okay? But along the way, we found things that we kind of like point out. We've been given things, if we came from the pagan churches, there's things that, just a few things that we pick up on. And just kind of want to share those as we're going along. Okay, now, according to this, okay, again, the scripture has all of of these patriarchs, when they were born and when they had the children that the timeline is going with. It's in the scriptures. Okay, now, Genesis 10, mostly, yeah. Okay, according to the way this starts, the flood was in 1649. All of these dates on here until we get to AD, which we'll explain that when we get to it, remind you are from the fall, not the creation. AD, yeah, okay. Now, there's another verse in Genesis 6:3, I'm sorry, Rick, thank you, that says, I will give man, it's just before the flood, I will give man 120 days. Years, I'm sorry. Shawnee. Okay, so there are beliefs about that 120. I'll give our belief after I give others. Okay, so the one belief on that is that that was written there before the flood, and that it means that Noah was given 120 years to build the ark before the flood. Okay, true or false? Okay. Some say true. Anyone say false? Okay. All right. From taking the birth of Shem at 502 and taking Shem's son, Arphaxad, being born 2 years after the flood, and seeing that from his birth that he helped his father build the ark. He went into the ark with a wife. You don't, that's less than 100 years.
It's 98 years at most.
98 years at most. So there's no way that the 120 could fit here. Okay, follow me? Okay, so it doesn't mean that. Okay, the next thought is, well, it means after the flood, or after the dispensation of the flood, no one will live to be 120. Is that true or false?
False. I would say that it's false in that it's a more general statement as opposed to specific. You may find one or two people that live beyond 120, but in general, nobody lives beyond 120.
Okay, so then the thought is that man will get 120 years.
Yeah.
Okay, I would have to, my dad would have to be reincarnated to come back and get the remainder of his 120 that's left. It's just a thought, you know, but, okay, but that's great. Now, Jacob, who lived after, well, I'll show you this in a minute. Jacob lived to be 147, Isaac 180, Abraham 175. The only one that we could find that had 120 year life was Moses. And Moses' life was broke up in 40, 40, and 40. Everyone probably already knows that. Well, that could set another pattern, okay, for the 120. Now, if the 120 means what, I'm going to tell you what I think it means. I think it means that mankind will get 120 counting of times.
Yes.
How does the Father count times? We can take the Bible and find out exactly how the Father counts times. He counts in sevens and he counts in 50s. Okay, now I believe 50 is a 50. A Jubilee is a 50. Although I understand the 49, that you can only count 49s, but I believe you count 50s. If I told you to count to 550s, you would say 50, 100, 150, 200. So I believe that Jubilees are counted in 50s.
It says it's counted just like the Omer.
Just like the Omer, right. Okay, so if that's true, okay, and I'm saying that's the way I feel it, but I could be wrong, or someone may have more information than me. What we have in the first 40 Jubilees, understand that 2,000 years would be 40 Jubilees at 50 apiece. Or 2 days. Day 1, day 2. Now, something significant happened, in my opinion, from the counting that I did to the conclusion of the first or the second day, or the first set of 40 Jubilees. the death of Noah. The death of Noah happened at 40 Jubilee. This is a dispensation, I agree. And this dispensation changed as Moses' life changed after his first 40. Okay? Now, while looking here to see if something else happened, as we were counting, and Rick's going to go back and do some of the counting here, I found out that something that happened significant on the first 40 happened exactly on the second 40. So that would be 40 and 40, or conclusion of day 4. Now, I'm finding a lot of others that are coming to the same conclusion that we are. The death of the Messiah was exactly year 4000 in our county. Huh? Yes.
He's trying to miss me.
I'm sorry, no, I'm not.
Joking.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you. I know we talked a little bit about this, and I agree with you, but the counting of the 120, does it start at Noah or from creation? How are we sure about that?
We're not sure, but this counts that at creation. I mean,
From
at
the
the fall.
exile, when they left the garden.
When they left the
That's
garden.
when the 120 was started.
Yeah.
When they, 120
Jubilees.
started.
Yeah.
Right.
It's still the same time frame. Okay, like a benchmark is Abraham. Everybody knows Abraham was 1,948 years after Adam. That's in y'all's Bibles. Most of them have a chart.
This is tag team,
It's
y'all.
exactly, it's 1,941 years after the exile, or after they left the garden. So we got, I'll let you've got two, yes, tag.
Tag.
Okay, you guys are familiar with AD and BC. You know what that means. I don't have to explain that. But in eschatology, you also have AM, Anno Mundi, which means from the creation of the world. We're not dealing with Anno Mundi. If you want Anno Mundi, add 7, because we're saying the dispensation of the 120 started when they ate, at the fall, when they began to die. Otherwise, we're talking about 1 week, though. But did that answer your question? Pretty much the 120, the counting of that state?
No, I mean, I knew what you guys viewed it as, but can you be 100% sure that the
No.
120 Jubilees didn't start at Noah?
At Noah, yeah. Yeah, it would have had to have started way back.
You mean Adam?
You mean Adam. I think you mean Adam, not Noah.
No, I'm saying when he said that in Genesis 6.
That was
he
Moses
said,
that wrote that.
He said, I will not strive with man for 120 years. What if he started counting there?
Who was he talking to?
Oh, who was he talking to?
Moses.
No, Moses wrote it.
No, that's during Noah's time.
Noah's time. I honestly, I do not know, but I strongly believe the 6 days that, when he said,
Okay, what?
the day you eat of this, you shall surely die, that started the first day. This is the second day. It's 1 long week. 6 days shall man work. It's like in 2 Peter 3:8, a day that
Right.
is 1,000 years.
That's what I'm saying. I
is a
agree
day.
with what you have it set up now. I just never thought of what if he started counting then. Have you ever thought of that?
Well, that would put things back a whole other,
Yeah, right.
That's why just looking at,
almost
1,100 years.
Right.
If he was telling Noah that.
that means that these 2 days didn't count
Or,
in the,
Right. I know. It's just a thought I had. That's all.
no, we're not.
Tag team. I don't have a tag team partner over here.
There's no question it will be ignored. Okay.
Is that handheld mic down there, Jordan? One they don't have the hand.
You want to pass around?
We hear you. We hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now, so where do I pick up? Okay,
Egypt.
well, again, Noah died, according to our account. These numbers are straight out of the Bible. Every one of them, okay? There's no add to, subtract. They're straight from the Bible. Now, something that most of you probably already know, Abraham was born according to this, 1941. Okay? And he knew, you can look up the line here and see if he had a chance to even know Noah before he died. He knew Shem, Arphaxad. He knew only a couple of these died before he did. And actually, 4 of these died after he did. Follow me? So yeah, these guys lived a long time. Okay, now we're going to go up here. This is Jacob, this is Jacob. I just ran out of room, so we put them up here twice. We have been told, and I'll just throw this out, how long was Israel in Egypt?
215 years.
20 years. I got 2. Someone else, what? 4 or 2?
In the 2 range.
I thought it was 400 years.
Okay. 430.
436. Couldn't have been.
Couldn't have been. And that is, where's the scripture? It does say to Abraham, your descendants will be out of the land and they will be in bondage, comma. So he's saying, from Abraham's, in our opinion, 75 years old when he got it, means that they will be, so you start counting when he left earth to here, it's 430 years. But when you go in here and start following history, you find out they were only from Joseph's end to Moses' leaving was only 215 years. Okay? Think back 215 years from now. What was the difference? Very few automobiles on the road. Okay, I mean, you know what I'm saying? That was a long time. Yes, 413 was longer, but without Joseph and with Moses, they were here for roughly 100 years after the death of Joseph.
215.
Well, Moses had 40.
Oh, I see. Okay. It's 215. They spent about 200.
Moses had 40 years in Egypt. Okay? He was in Pharaoh's house for 40. I mean, for 80. He was in, and Pharaoh's house for 40. He was in the wilderness for 40. And then he was with the children of Israel. Follow me?
Yes.
Okay? Again, that's the 40, 40, 40 that I think is significant on the 40, 40, 40 Jubilee. Follow me?
Absolutely.
Okay? All right. So now, y'all probably can't see this if you're in the back, but we have all this penciled in. We have the Exodus at 24:46. Again, that is from the fall. And that is strictly using Scripture. Okay? But only, again, don't give out the 7. But I want to say something else. Again, if by the progression of time, okay, that this could move, okay? I say the progression of time is because, let's say that George, it says he was 162. Jared, yeah, well, I tried to throw Y in there, it just didn't happen. Was 162 when Enoch was born, and Enoch was 65 when Methuselah was born. Well, we know that their children weren't born on their birthdays. Okay? That's the only way to stay even, exact. Okay? But if let's say that Enoch's or Methuselah was born on Enoch's 65th year plus 11 months. Okay? And then Lamech was born at 187 and 11 months. Okay? And then Noah was born at 182 and 11 months. We've just gained 2.5 years. Follow me? So this could move a little bit. Not much because it would probably catch up a little bit. But anyway, there's a possibility that the Father knew and he put a cleanup right here with Noah at exactly year 2000. He put a cleanup here. I call it cleanup. at the death of the Messiah, exactly year 4000. Okay? All right, now, I wanted to, okay, now we have the Exodus at 24:46. Okay, we've got 40 years in the wilderness. And we have the conclusion of Moses' life at his 120 years old. Okay? So entering the promised land on this chart is 2486 from the fall. Now we have Joshua taking over. Again, Moses' life concluded at 120. Joshua lived to be 110. Moses was born before him, so we have Joshua now taking over. So what we did was try to find this span. Okay? So now we're going through the judges, and we try to follow the judges, and it's kind of hard to do. Okay, but here's what's on the chart right now. Is in 1 Kings 6:1. If you would look up 1 Kings 6:1, it gives us a jump. Okay, and there are a few jumps in here that we can take on the timeline. Okay, so we went 1 Kings 6:1. It says.
And it came to pass in the 418th year, after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Zib, which is the 2nd month.
Okay, so we have a 400 and what year?
418.
418 year jump from them leaving the Exodus to the 2nd year of Solomon's reign.
4th year of Solomon.
4th year. Oh yeah, 4th. All right, there's another 2 down here. So here's what we did. Now, how long did Saul reign? There's controversy in it. Don't know. Some say 2 years, some say 17, some say 40. Well, when you make the jump, guess what it does? It jumps over him. And we don't have to worry. He's insignificant, which he probably is. Okay? So, now what we did here to check this is we went back here to Joshua crossing the Jordan, and we followed the ark. Not the ark, the tabernacle. We didn't follow the ark, we followed the tabernacle. To see if this matched. Okay? So, what happened when Joshua went across the Jordan? He went to Gilgal, and set, it's in the scriptures, went to Gilgal and set up the tabernacle, and had the ark there. Okay? And, I feel real sure they had a red heifer when they went over. If you don't know the significance of red heifer, they had to burn a perfect red heifer and take the ashes and cleanse the ground. For some reason, why I don't know, they had to cleanse the ground. When they found this land in Gilgal, they had to do their best to find virgin land. It could have a battle on it. There could be bloodshed on it. And then to make sure they had to kill the red heifer to make sure the ground under the tabernacle and under the ark was free of any blood. Okay, so they had to do that several times. Again, it was at Gilgal for 7 years. The way it looks to me, Gilgal was not the center of Israel. Okay, it was in kind of the northwest side. So what Joshua wanted to do was take the ark and the tabernacle and put it as close to the center of the 12 tribes as he could. So it went to Shiloh in the scriptures, okay? And we can follow it at Shiloh for approximately 350 years. Okay? Now, the reason it left Shiloh, y'all know? Okay, well, the prophet Eli had 2 sons.
The priest?
Yeah. He had 2 sons who took on their own, was going against the Philistines, outnumbered, and they thought the way, without asking God, asking Yahweh, they took the ark into battle with them. Okay? And the Philistines whipped their butts and took the ark. Both sons were killed. And the way I read it, as soon as Eli heard the ark was lost, his sons were dead, he dropped dead. I don't see a spear going at him. I don't see him catching disease, I see him dropping dead, right there. Okay, now, again, we're following the ark. The ark leaves the tabernacle. Well, the ark leaves the tabernacle at this point. Okay, and possibly never returns back to it. Although it could have went back when David took it back, or took it to Jerusalem. Okay, so the Philistines, anyway, overran Shiloh. Most historians say, people say that know more than me, say that probably the tabernacle was taken down quickly and rushed away. Because we have no evidence that the Philistines took it, they only took the ark. Okay? And if you know the story of the Philistines having the ark, they had it for approximately 9 months. Everywhere they moved it, people got sick, people got crazy, people came out in bowls. Their idols fell over. They took it, I can tell you the cities, but I'd probably be wrong. But the first temple of, okay, yeah.
Wasn't it said that if anybody but a Levite picked up the ark and carried it, they would die?
They transported it in a wagon. I mean, yes, I do. Is that right?
Yeah,
If you touch it,
only a certain clan of Levites could carry it on the poles. They couldn't actually touch it.
couldn't touch it.
They had to carry it on the poles because they dropped it once and he went to catch it and he fell over dead. No one could touch it.
Don't touch it.
But when we see it being transported to the Philistines and back from the Philistines, it's in a wagon pulled by an ox, I believe.
Oh, I see, so
So-
they didn't carry it.
They eventually became afraid of it, as they should have. The story is that they put it in one of the temples to Dagon. I ain't saying that name here because it's a false god. But what happened to him should have happened to him. First day, I think they put the ark in the same temple. The statue of Dagon was in there. They went in there the first day and it was over laying on the ground. So they thought, oh crap, they put it back up, and the next day I think it was pretty much broken to pieces.
Hands are cut off.
Yeah. So anyway, and people started getting bulls, insanity in the camps. I mean, it was chaos. So after moving it, 3 or 4 times, they finally said, hey, we got to get this out of here. So they put it on a wagon without a driver, with an ox, told the ox, pointed in a direction and hit it, and it went back. Okay? But the ark never went back to Shiloh. Although the tabernacle did. The tabernacle went back to Gilgal for approximately 50 years without the ark in it. Okay? And then it went to naught. And now we read the story, again, follow it. We can pick back the ark up. I don't believe that Obed-Edom is where the ark.
Yeah, and I believe it was David's uncle. That's just conjecture.
Y'all hear that? The ark went to Obed-Edom, and you got.
I said I believe that Obed-Edom was David's uncle, and I just believe that because of the name Obed is the father of Jesse. So I think
That would make
he
him.
would have had a relationship.
David.
Maybe.
David.
That's a stretch. But this is also the time of the judges
Here.
right in there, and we're told in Acts 13, 20. It said we're given judges for a period of about 450 years.
Which again would fit in here.
And it's counting Samuel too, and Samuel overlaps, reigns with, is a judge during the time of King Saul and during the first part of, he anointed David, but he died during Saul's reign. Because Saul had him brought up at Endor, but the witch at Endor. So the dispensation of the judges and the kings kind of overlap a little bit. That's why there's 400, it says about 450 years. Can't really be precise there. We can break it down.
It's another reason though why we wanted to use 1 Kings 6 and follow the tabernacle.
Because after,
Mike, show us where the apostasy took place, where the children of Israel were sacrificing their sons and daughters to Moloch? It
Um,
was during the time of judges and stuff?
Kings.
The kings, would you show us?
It's coming up.
Yeah, here's the kings, and we're almost there.
Okay.
And we'll see that Solomon here, and yeah, we'll get, you want to do that?
Well, I was gonna touch on the judges just a moment, not much.
Okay, go ahead.
Just that after Joshua, they spent 8
Hold
years.
right closer.
After Joshua died, they spent about 8 years in Mesopotamia without a leader. And they started.
It didn't take them long. After Joshua died, it didn't take them
They
long to
started
go in.
going back to their ways. And then the first judge was,
Can I say something? Since we brought up Joshua, Joshua had, the way I understand it, at least up to 80% of Israel conquered. And it was like only 20% after his death that they had to finish taking. But instead of, like you was talking earlier, the mold, they left 20% of the mold. And that mold, instead of them eliminating it, it started infecting all of them. The same thing that George was talking in the early class. They didn't wipe it out. They just let it, and then they started marrying wives. Philistine wives and Canaanite wives. So, go ahead.
I wanted to go in here and put the judges on here. We kind of ran out of time, but
We've only had 4 years on this.
Yeah, we just threw this one together last week.
No, really.
There's a dispensation of 8 years here after Joshua dies, but they're in Mesopotamia. And the first judge was Othniel, and that's Caleb's younger brother's son. So it's the son of Caleb's younger brother, so that's Caleb's nephew. And this is the same Caleb, Caleb and Joshua, the two that came back and said, let's take it now. Caleb's nephew ended up being the first real judge after Joshua. And he is credited for 40 years, and then we've got 18 years in Moab. Then 80 years for Ehud.
And that's following the judge's line.
Deborah, 40 years. And then they had peace. Then they were in Midian for 7 years, Midian ran.
The biggest?
Then Gideon, Abimelech, Tola.
Rick,
The last
skip
one was
this.
Samson.
Go ahead.
The last one was Samuel.
Who was the best king? The best judge? Go ahead and say it.
Samson?
No.
Gideon?
The woman.
Deborah. Deborah.
Y'all say it. Deborah. The woman. There was more peace.
They had peace 40 years.
More peace under Deborah than
Barak.
with
Deborah and Barak.
Yeah. Any other king?
And that's the judges, and now we're in the kings.
Yeah. Okay. So, yes.
I got a question.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Ricky said that after the death of Joshua, they were in Mesopotamia for 8 years.
That's what he said.
Mesopotamia is the land between the Euphrates and the Tigris River, which is way east of Israel.
All right, I misspoke. Then they were ruled by Mesopotamia or something. It's look at Judges. Pull up Judges 3.
Are you awake? That's okay.
Three what?
It's verse 8.
Okay.
For 8 years.
Read it, Jordan.
And the displeasure of Yahweh burned against Israel. He sold them into the hand of Cushan Rishathaim, sovereign of Aram Naharaim. And the children of Israel served Cushan Rishathaim 8 years.
Okay.
So, no, not in the land, that land over there, but ruled by the ones that are from that land. Is that right?
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
Okay. Now, we have here David took the ark and probably the tabernacle to Jerusalem. He bought the threshing floor, probably put it up there. He never got to build the temple. Everyone knows that. He was a man of war. Rick, do you want to pick up here? Yeah, again, we counted here to get this 400 years plus. When David did reign, in our opinion, probably 40 years, right?
Well, that's what the scripture says.
That's what the scripture says. Solomon ruled for 40 years. What this is that these are the kings of Israel. These are the kings of Judah. And under Solomon, the kingdom was divided. So,
When Solomon died, his son Rehoboam ruled Judah. Okay, he ruled for 17 years. Well, Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, he was a bad man, very bad man, and he led them astray, and they started worshiping idols, doing everything they were told not to do.
but probably
This year, though, that Solomon died was about 2,965 from the fall. Okay, we're almost 3,000. We're almost into the third day now. But the kingdom is split into two, and we track the kings of Judah first because it's unbroken. The kings of Israel stop here with Hezekiah, and they go off into Syria, or I'm not sure where. They stop, and Hezekiah is pretty much ruling it all now. The dispensation of King, we just tracked them one by one, and this is in Kings and Chronicles, and there's really no difference except for they talk about how old one guy is. It doesn't matter how old he was,
how long
he reigned, whether he was 18 or 8 when he began his reign. That's questionable. I believe he was 18, not 8. And I don't remember which one it was, but I think it was Jehoiakim or Jehoiakim. But yeah, Josiah was 7. But there's one that Kings, they're told he was 8 years old when he began to reign, and then in Chronicles it says he was 18, and I think it's Jehoiakim.
Josiah was the boy because
That's
he's the one that they had to protect him with
They
the
hid him
sword.
in the temple.
Yeah.
I want to point out the last king, Zedekiah. Now these are not their real names either. After when they became king, they changed their names. They started doing that right in here. They didn't all do that, but I know Zedekiah did.
Look familiar to
Yeah.
any denomination today?
You know, and it's confusing. It gets confusing to try and keep up with them when you know that that's Eliakim and is Jehoiakim. And so I just went with the names we know. Zedekiah, he was the last king of Israel, and he was actually set up by Nebuchadnezzar. When Nebuchadnezzar came in, took Jehoiakim off the throne and put his uncle Zedekiah, Jehoiakim's uncle, not Nebuchadnezzar's uncle. He's still the son of Josiah. He's still, but this 11 years that Zedekiah reigned, it is incorporated within the 70 years that they went into Babylon. And I believe this because when you look at the book of Hadassah, Esther, you see that we're told that they went in to Babylon. They were carried off into Babylon with Jehoiakim. All right, and we're told how long all that happens. King Ahasuerus, this was like in the 3rd year of his reign. All this takes place for over 9 years, the book of Esther. And then at the end of Babylon, when the writing's on the wall, Darius comes in. Now I believe that Darius is the son, he is the son of Ahasuerus. We're told that in the scriptures, Daniel 9. So I believe that just makes sense that he's Esther's son. Okay? We're told how old he was when he came and took the kingdom away. He was 62 years old.
Can I point something out?
Go ahead.
What Rick has is, this is the 70-year Babylonian captivity, okay? We put, of course, Jeremiah was a prophet here, and he prophesied before the Babylonian captivity. Now, what we did here, once we had the Babylonian captivity, we knew that they went in for 70 years, and 70 was, they were in there for every land Sabbath they did not uphold. So what we did here, this is what this 490 is. From them going to Babylon, we wanted to go back 490 years and find out that not even David kept the Sabbath, or the 7-year land Sabbath. Okay, where you're told to till your land for 6 years and take the harvest of, and on the 7th you let the land rest. Okay, that was one of the main reasons. Of course, again, like I said, we marked this from Babylon 490 years, and coming up here,
It's into Saul.
into Saul. Saul did, and none of these kings kept it. The father, I believe, told over and over and over and over, how many times I'm going to have to tell you? Okay, I'm told you enough. You're going to Babylon, and
You owe me 70 weeks,
it'll be 70 weeks. Jeremiah, of course, did not go.
70 years.
Jeremiah went somewhere else. Ezekiel and Daniel were both in Babylon. I believe both their books of the Bible were written in Babylon. When we come out, we'll find Nebuchadnezzar and Ezra, in which
Nehemiah and Ezra.
Nehemiah, sorry, yeah. Probably, don't know for sure, they could have been born in Babylon.
Most likely.
Most likely because their span after Babylon, and then looking back 70 years, their age probably was the same as the rest of them, and was probably born in Babylon. So anyway, now, if you want to jump.
Okay, while they're in Babylon, Daniel is asked to interpret Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Well, first he was, can you tell me my dream? Because he woke up and couldn't even remember what the dream was. It's like, there's this one guy who'll tell you what you dreamt, and then he'll tell you what, So they went and got Daniel, and
I was gonna say that was your speaker words.
okay, let me enunciate.
Because you say important things.
When Daniel went to interpret Nebuchadnezzar's dream. First he tells him, you see this statue, you're the head of gold. You're this kingdom, this golden kingdom, but you will be replaced by a lesser, the silver age. And that's the Medes and the Persians. You got 2 arms. They're divided into 2, the left and the right. That's Darius and Cyrus. And Cyrus, being the greater, come up like the 2 horns on the ram. Okay. Now, after that, down in here you get Alexander the Great, the brass area, the bronze era. Okay, he's the belly and thighs of brass. That's Alexander the Great, the goat that's mentioned in Daniel.
And we're actually building up to the 490 years from the rebuilding of the temple to Messiah.
Okay, and then we're still ruled by the Greeks. Here's the Maccabees, about 170 years BC before the Messiah. It's 3,800 years after the exile, after the garden. But so about 3807 on Yom Mundi, if you want to use that. Just to try to keep it. I'm just trying to keep it
In the common terms.
right. Thank you. All right, and it's not until right about here. Now, this is Caesar Augustus. We've got 3 Caesars listed, named by name, in the scriptures. We've got Caesar Augustus, who we're told was ruling when he's the one that initiated the tax or the census. He said, everybody come. That was him. He reigned from here, which there's some debate on that, but depending on where you look, anywhere from 27 to 31 BC.
Hey, Ricky, so you're saying after the Greeks, Rome were the 2 legs of iron, right?
Thank you for backing me up. Yes. Yes. After the Greeks, now the Romans take over, and that's the iron legs. And there's 2 of them. You'll see that Caesar Augustus starts. Well, he might have even started with Julius, but we're going to start with Augustus because he's the one that was mentioned in the scriptures when Messiah was born. He ruled and reigned anywhere from, depending on where you look, it could say 27 to 31 BC. All right.
But he reigned until 14 AD, when Tiberius became emperor.
And 14 AD was what year?
We don't have that one on here. We'll get there though. We'll back that up because what we do, we know that Tiberius was reigning when the Messiah was sacrificed. So if only we knew what year of Tiberius' reign that happened. If only there was a verse that told us. Well, Luke chapter 3 verse 1 starts out with, now in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar. So this is 15 years after 14 AD. So what year is that? 14. 15 years after 14 AD would be what AD?
29.
Well, 28, because 14 is inclusive. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah.
Rick, you got it.
Okay.
That you want? Yeah.
Harry, why just being.
It's right in there where the pepper gets put on the trail, right?
You bet.
Yeah.
In our opinion,
Yeah.
AD, BC, CBC,
That's what it is.
you can't, yeah, throw it out the window. Throw it out the window. And that's why
So we're looking at 4,000 years after. Now this is at the Messiah's baptism. All right. Now whether you believe he's got a 3-year ministry or a 70-week ministry is going to make a difference here, because what year was he crucified or sacrificed? Well, we believe it's a 70-week. Okay. If you want to say that he had a 3-year ministry, you can add 3 years to this.
But the only, can I say, the only reason that I could find that they come up with a 3.5-year ministry is that they'll take one account in Matthew and one in Luke, and when
John.
both are telling about something that takes place at the Passover, and these are events that take place at the same Passover, but they'll spread them out and say, well, it was 2 or 3 different Passovers. That's the only way.
They also say the one in John chapter 5 where it says a feast of Yahweh, or a feast of the Jews. It's not a specifically named feast. So they assume that that's Passover, but it's Pentecost.
Has to be. Has to be.
It was.
Tell them why though.
Because they were hanging out by the pool. They were hanging out by the pool. Remember, that's when the angel would stir up the water in the pool.
Oh, yeah.
Also, you go back to John chapter 4, it tells you, Messiah says, no, you not. There's 4 months till the harvest. So if it's 4 months till the 7th month, well then we know it's the 3rd month. And so it's Pentecost.
Clear?
And then, where was I here? Okay, so in the 15th year of Emperor Tiberius, okay, so he's been reigning for 15 years, so this is approximately 28 AD, 28, 29-ish. Okay, and we believe he had a 70-week ministry. If it's at the end of the year, you go into 30, 31, we say he was sacrificed, pierced, about 30 AD, plus or minus, but 30 AD.
Okay, now let me tell you why.
Which is 4,000.
Yeah, he died in year 4,000. Now,
The 80th Jubilee.
the 80th Jubilee.
The 4th day.
Yes.
This is the time of the Gentiles, the last dispensation.
Now, if we can find what Rick was just saying, if we can tie the death of the Messiah to a Roman leader and find the same date, then we can jump AD, because we are in 2018 from something.
And here's the last one, the last Roman emperor mentioned.
And we're trying to get
Named
this
Claudius.
to the conclusion of the 6th day.
He's in Acts 11:28. He says, there was a great dearth throughout all the world, which came to pass in the days of Claudius Caesar. This is 41 to 54 AD. So this is about 12, 13 years. Well, 12. This is at least 10 years after the Messiah. After his death, burial, and resurrection.
Let me clean that up again. I mean,
Yeah, go ahead, try to
not you, but
say what I said in a different way.
4,000, the death of Messiah, 4,000, is 31 AD. 31 AD.
The birth, 1 BC would be 3969.
His birth, right, 3969 was his birth. And again, 4,000, the conclusion of day 4.
And there's no zero. It goes from 1 BC to 1 AD. It just 3970 would be 1 AD.
So if we can jump now to,
This line would line right up on top.
yeah, AD. Now, we've got things here. Now, the only reason we put Constantine on it here is because we put his death. Great day. Yeah.
That I'm trying to show continuity, that there's no gaps in this timeline, that the Romans ruled until the Byzantine Empire, from Augustus till Zeno in 491 AD, when the Byzantine Empire, which is the right leg of the Roman, or the left leg, whichever way you want to look at it, it's the other leg.
When Yeshua was born, what'd you say, 3996?
For the year 3.
970.
Which is 3970.
Well,
970, yeah.
It should have been
31.
5 BC, roughly.
Right.
According-
I've heard 4 BC, but,
Herod died-
BC doesn't
Herod died
even-
before.
that's what I was
BC
gonna ask him, do you know the time Herod died?
That's what history says. But
BC
according
doesn't
to-
even agree with BC.
According to the scriptures, though, Herod was alive and well when Messiah was 2.
Right.
Then he had to go to Egypt until Herod died. He didn't come out of Egypt until he was about 12.
Right.
So I don't think Herod died in BC. I think that's more pepper on the trail. I think that's false history. That I don't believe that anybody. I don't believe they know that. You know, they just put that on there.
Yeah,
That's what
I think
that's just what the history books tell us. Just like the history books will tell us that the temple was sacked in 586 BC. There's some discrepancies there up to 100 years, up to 50 years. I don't believe that Herod could have died BC because they had fled to Egypt for 10 years.
Questions? Go.
So how can you be sure of the 2018 when Constantine's the one that skipped a bunch of years and said, oh,
Okay.
blah, blah, blah?
On 2018 is what number from creation? That's what we're going to conclude with. What day are we today? It won't be a 2018. It will be a 5,900 something.
Well, what she's asking though is Constantine changed
Yeah.
days and stuff, but he changed. You're talking about when we went to the Gregorian calendar?
Yes.
That didn't happen until 1580 something. That didn't happen until up in here. We were still on the Julian calendar at that time, and no, it didn't, because the days were still the days. It only changed the times. He changed
The
the
dates.
day, the dates,
Yeah.
but the
They
year was
changed
the
the
year.
day. 7 days ago. they changed the days.
I've been taught that our calendar is actually 40 years off, that Messiah was born about 40 AD.
That's close.
No?
No, wait, no, 80.
That's what I
No,
have.
other way, no.
Herod died.
So actually, 2018 is 5779.
That's what the Jews say.
That's well, I've got. Go ahead.
That's what Israel has on there. They say we're in the year 5,779. That's what we're trying to show, is that they're off. And now where did they lose that 200 and something years? Well, no, way before the Constantine did change it. What he changed was Sunday worship, you know, we're gonna change it to Sunday.
They lost in Egypt. They do not count the 215
That's
years
one thing we're
in
told,
Egypt.
is that
If you
they
take their 57, I'm sorry.
purposely are hiding, not counting their time in Egypt. Or that they did it intentionally, somehow. You can't overlook 200 and something years. It's obvious to anybody who sees it.
They worked their history.
They did.
Yeah.
I think Mike was trying to say something.
Okay.
Okay, they say, yeah, right, they say 5779, you add 215, you get to almost exactly where we're gonna get to when we get to the end.
Pretty close.
Okay, we're good. Okay, now, another thing, the Chinese are at 4716, like that makes a difference, it really doesn't. I don't know where their time starts from. I tried to find out, I could, probably another dog or giraffe or something. I don't know, but, okay, Rick. Yeah.
You're the rat.
Yeah.
Where on the timeline on that side that represent, if we got the statue, we've got down to the feet. I mean, the leg, we haven't got the feet yet, the feet and the toes. It would start right there where the,
Rome was the way.
Right. Now, I believe the Byzantine Empire is that other leg, okay? And it lasts all the way to 1453, when another Constantine the 11th, they're taken over by the Ottoman Empire right here in 1453 at the end of the 100-Year War. All right. Well, that's 1492.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the Ottoman Empire, this concludes the Roman
statute.
and the stat. Well, except for the toes. Now, the 10 toes are the 10 kingdoms. Okay, it's also 10
Say, hold your microphone up.
10 kings, 10. It parallels the one in Revelation. Okay, the 10 with 10 kings. That is yet to come, or it's in the process of happening now. Just world events. I mean, look, I look to the EU, the European Union.
Well, how do you view, because everything was in succession, from different metals, it was kingdom to kingdom to kingdom. I mean, where do you view where the Ottoman Empire came in and the Islamic reign and the caliphs after Muhammad?
Exactly. Would you like to expound on that?
No,
You know
not
something
really.
you know? Because
We started to put Islam on here. Again, same thing as Constantine. I hated to put him on here. We could put Muhammad's birth, his death, and when he did this. When
right
he did
here,
that.
610 is when Islam started.
Yeah.
When
610.
okay.
It's not on here, but right there is when Muhammad had his vision. All right, that's
Roughly
like-
7, 8. I mean, you take 30 years, 30, 31 years off of that, you get the running time.
Okay, and where is that on the Hebrew calendar right there?
That's what he's saying. If that'd be 46, 45, 80, 4,580.
From the fall.
What was going on with Israel at that time? What was Israel, what condition were they in at 600?
Well,
During,
They were scattered.
they're scattered. The temple's destroyed right here at 70 AD.
Okay.
And
Well, 40-40. It'd be 40-40. It'd be about 40 years after the death. So it's 40-40.
from the running time.
This would be the end of the 4th day, the start of the 5th day, 5,000 years. Now we're into kings of England and stuff. And when we get up into here, now the Ottoman Empire, this is why I wanted to show a running timeline, because the Ottoman Empire ends the Byzantine Empire. And they kind of overlap right here. So there's no gaps. Now the Ottoman Empire, they reigned from 1299 to 1922. Now we're all the way, we're getting down here to the end now. So 1922, that's the end of the Ottoman Empire. So now I put in the kings of it.
Just take a few of the Civil War, American Civil War.
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln, 5830. Okay, from back there, from the fall. Was Columbus discovers America, 5461. Running time. Follow me? And that's from the fall. What else we got here? This guy.
That's Alfred the Great.
Alfred
He's
the
one of the first kings. Well, the first king of England is King Egbert, which he pretty much relieved Charlemagne, the Franks, and then Alfred the Great. And then King Edward the First is what really started the British Empire. And then the Henry IV, the Lancasters, the War of the Roses, the Tudors. Then we got.
Was Edward's,
What house was Edward from?
Plantagenet?
Can you spell that?
Plantegenet.
Yeah, that's why I didn't put it on here. And then we've got good old King Jimmy. He's the one that gave us our
He wrote your Bible.
Yeah, he wrote my Bible.
Yeah. Explain it. I mean, we got
In 1605,
King James.
he was given the commission. Well, it was 1605 that he started the commission to do it. And he got like 50 men together to do it. Now, not a single one of them was a Jew. Okay, he got 4 different groups, so they didn't even talk to each other, and they compared them.
Were they all of the same religion?
I don't
No,
know.
not all of them are Roman Catholic,
Really?
but most of them are.
Not one of them was a Jew, though. I know that.
No.
They didn't, and so
Didn't understand the
they didn't
feast
get
of sacrifice.
the Jewish idioms, the Hebrew idioms. I mean, so now now we're into the, kind of getting into the people okay, this is the start of America here. We got George Washington, the first president, 1781 to 1797. Now we're in the picture here, okay? And we can go all the way here to President Trump, 2017 to present. Queen Elizabeth, 1952 to present. These are, the last two. We're this far away.
There's this much left to 6,000.
We're got about 13 millimeters there.
the end
Oh,
of the
and Mike hates the metric system, by the way.
I did. I don't anymore.
But this, for y'all that don't notice, this is exactly
I'm old, but I can change.
4. This is exactly 4 meters. Every single millimeter is a year. Okay, and so we could be off a little bit by the thickness of our pencil. We used a 0.7 millimeter. I tried to use 0.5, but I kept poking holes in it.
Ricky, did you guys run out of butcher paper, or did you circumcise your graph here?
We did it in 2 parts.
Yeah.
The paper.
This went to the Messiah, and then he started one.
And this is how we lock them together, knowing
It's the same
that
day.
the 15th year of the reign. Okay, this line would line up right over on top of this line.
Oh, okay.
You just gonna drag it over, and it would
So
continue.
we're how many years away from the
Okay,
complete the
great.
2000?
Great, drum roll, yeah. If you believe, wait a minute, if you believe these are days, okay, and that Noah died day 2, Messiah died day 4, 4,000. If you believe that, now again, we've spent over 4 years on this, and I know there's others that have spent a lot longer time than us. Most do not come up with this. And when you see their charts, the first thing I do is I go to see if they're counting BC and AD. If they do, I say, never mind. That's the way I do. Okay, now.
Well, maybe out with the bathwater too.
Well, I may do that, but I'll still come up with our own. Okay, so the conclusion. Okay, now here's something else I put on here that I think is significant. Okay, it took us to AD 1804 for Earth to reach 1 billion people.
Right.
Okay? From 1999 to 2011, that's 12 years, it gained another billion. Okay?
So it took how many years to go from 8 people to 1 billion?
1804.
The flood.
But add 4,000 to 1804 and subtract 30 to 31. So 1,770 or 766 years. No,
1,700.
5,700. Yeah, I confused me. I can do that.
To go from 8 people.
Or no, this is from 2 people, then starting back with 8.
But you can't count. Yeah, I guess you could because you.
Okay. Anyhow, it took 5,000 something years.
Yes, to get to 1 billion.
Okay,
Okay, and that's
No, it took
basically
less than that because it started over at 2000. Or, well, no, right
right.
here.
That's what he's saying. The 8
It started over at 1650.
Okay, I'll just throw this out. 1804, 1 billion. 1959, 3 billion. 1999, 6 billion. 2011, 7 billion. Okay, now, supposedly all the experts have said Earth can only sustain 10 billion. Okay? There's a good chance we'll reach that 10 billion by the conclusion of 6,000. We are roughly in the year right now of 5,988. 88, 89.
That's adding in
Plus-
215 years
Yes.
from each.
Well, no, that
No, no,
would
we
be
added.
at 5994. If you know,
Now-
that's why I say give or take a week. Give or take a week.
Depending on whether you think mankind will conclude at 6,000, day 6. It There's a lot about the 7-year Sabbath. It's about, well, not a lot, it is, in my opinion, called the Day of the Lord, or the millennial reign of the Messiah.
Or the Lamb's Day.
Or the Lamb's Day. If it is the 1,000-year reign of Messiah, we will reign with him. It also says, I believe in Revelation 22, Satan will be bound for 1,000 years. 20?
Yeah, 20. But
Okay.
I think he was saying 20 verse 2. Chapter 20 verse 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. So will that be the 7th year? Or that the 7th day?
7-year day.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yes, we are, let's say, I mean, I know that there are those that say 2024, okay? 2024 would start, would leave us, if it concludes, on our opinion, my opinion, 2030 is the conclusion of the 6th day.
Tag. We also put the Yom Kippur War up here. All right, the Yom Kippur War, it happened on the Feast of Atonement. That's why it's called the Yom Kippur War. In 1973. And I believe this is very significant because as close as we can get, I believe the Father gives us markers.
Can't hear you. There's too many people
Okay,
talking.
I believe the Father gives us markers. Mark the Jubilee, and we're told in Leviticus 26 that the Jubilee is marked on the 10th day of the 7th month on the Feast of Atonement. So if this is in fact a Jubilee, and that would have been 5950 then. So I mean that's 7 years, give or take, difference, but between what we have here.
But that's saying that the 6,000 concludes in 2024.
Also, another thing we didn't touch on is this 490 years. You'll see when you study it, a lot of people break this up and say it's 483 years. Okay? Because when you go, what we took this from was Daniel chapter 9, the 70 times 7, the 70 weeks. Well, there's 7 weeks and then 62. Okay, well that's 69. 69 weeks is 483.
Leaving 7.
Leaving 7.
And a lot of people believe that there's what's called the 70th week of Daniel. It's the 7 last years of mankind.
But there's not a 7-year period. In Daniel chapter 8, we're told we're given a 2,300 day dispensation. 2,300 days, and if you do the math, that's 6.35. That's 6 years, 4 months. I believe that's the time of Jacob's trouble, because Jacob.
Is that, when you count those days, are you going off our current solar year or the 360?
I did it both ways. I know what you're saying. Do I do 360 or do I do 365? And if you do 365, you get less. If you do 360, you get 6.38. If you do 365, you get 6.32. And then you got to remember though, out of 6 years, you're going to have at least 1 year that has 13 months.
Y'all follow?
Everybody know that?
Yeah.
Every 3 years, you got a 13th month. Just about, give or take. There's a 19-year cycle.
Right.
And
Of what? Of what? Don't you dare. Of what? Of what? That's not what it says. It says no one knows the hour of day, that heaven and earth will be wiped away. You got to read the first one.
But of that day.
But of that day.
But of that day. So you start
gotta go back
back
to
up to read chapter Matthew 24 verse 35 and 6.
Go to Thessalonians 2.
And 5, 4 and 5.
But I read his word, he says, I do nothing unless I tell my
Hold
servants.
on a second, Mike, because we can hear you, what you're saying, but we didn't hear anything that.
Okay, he said no one knows the hour of the day. Okay, I disagree with that. I don't disagree with him. I disagree with that, okay?
Let's read the scripture, what it says.
Which verse was it?
24, 36.
35.
Verse 36, that's when he was.
Okay. Yeah. And then we'll back up. But concerning that day and hour, no one knows, not even the messengers of heaven, but my Father only.
Okay.
Back it up. Read verse 35 together. The heaven and the earth shall pass away, but my word shall by no means pass away.
That's the
But concerning that day, the day that heaven
But
and
when
earth
the
pass,
heavens and the earth pass away.
that doesn't happen until after the great white throne judgment.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Oh, so
That-
we've all been led to believe that verse 36 is talking about concerning the return of the Messiah.
And we're told,
It
don't
is
even
not
try
all-
to,
That's out of context.
don't
Okay,
even
we're
bother
clear
trying
that
to figure out where we're at, because if you do, that's,
That verse 36 is talking about verse 35.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you, I preached that. I preached 36 and not even looked at 35.
I know, I've never
I had
looked at
done.
it, know that to just now.
Hey, I think, One IT Ministries, I think they would agree. I think they have a video talking about the heaven and earth.
Well, that confirms it right there.
Also, if you look at Thessalonians, he says,
that Messiah will come like a thief in the night? That's,
Not for us.
No.
that's if you stop right there, but what does the next verse say?
But
But
not-
you, children,
But you, my dear
are
children,
not of the
darkness.
darkness. You are in the light, that day shall not overtake you as a thief.
That's right.
Okay.
Hallelujah.
Also,
That's not a feast day.
thank you, I was getting to that.
Trumpets.
One of the things, Mike touched upon why he started this. One of the things I did, why I started it was, those of you who know me, I'm afflicted with back pain. It was worse, a lot worse, 10,
Before
14
Jennifer.
years ago.
Before dinner.
And I was on my face praying, how long, how long, how long? Somebody pull up Psalms 4, please. How long? How long until? Well, I kept hearing him, if I told you once, I told you 1,000 times. 6 days, 6 days, 6 days. Okay? I kept saying, if I only knew how long I could maybe make it, you know, I could tarry on. I was in bad shape, y'all. I wanted to just throw in the towel. Felt like, who was it, Elijah? I'm just gonna lay down here under this broom tree and die.
You gonna read the scripture?
Psalms, answer me when I call, O Elohim, of my righteousness. Give relief to me when I was in distress. Show favor to me and hear my prayer. Till when, or how long, is what King James says. Till when, O you sons of men, would you turn my esteem to shame? Would you love emptiness, seek falsehood? But know that Yahweh has separated a lovingly committed one for himself. Yahweh hears when I call to him. Tremble and do not sin. Speak within your heart, on your bed, and be still. Slaughter. Keep going up, go down. Slaughterings of righteousness, and trust in Yahweh. Many are saying, who would show us good? Yahweh, lift up the light of your face upon us. You have put more gladness in my heart than in the season of their grain and wine increased. I lie down in peace altogether for sleep. You alone, O Yahweh, make me dwell in safety. The how long, how long, how long. And if I thought I could just know that I could tarry on a little longer.
Yes,
You know,
Ken.
it's like one more mile to go.
Yes,
Just
Ken.
around this corner.
Yes, Ken.
Just over this hill, Ken.
I'm really bad about hearing something and then I start thinking and then I don't hear what y'all are talking about because I'm listening. And Glenn said something about Muslim Arabs somewhere around what you're talking about in Daniel, what is that, 2:42, when it talks about the toes and the legs and the ceramic part, and the word mixed is actually in Hebrew stands for Arab, and I think that's just an important part to be added to when you're talking about the different attributes.
That's right. That's actually Aramaic because the chapters 2 through 7 of Daniel are written in Aramaic.
And it's important to know as we're looking at the major population distance, when you get down here and you're talking about the billions, to even see the breakdown between the Arabs, the Muslims, and the other two. I don't know, just a point.
And another verse in Daniel that stuck out at me is, if you want to pull this one up, Daniel chapter 8, verse 19. Because I kept asking how long, oh when, if I could just know how much longer I could handle. I could tarry on a little longer. If I thought I had to live in this condition another 40 years, I thought, but I'm better now, y'all, okay?
Is that
I
Daniel
wrote-
what?
8:19. And said, look, I am making known to you what shall take place in the latter time of wrath. For at the appointed time shall the end be. Somebody want to look that word? So I looked it up. At the appointed time. The end shall be at the appointed time. Anybody want to take a wild guess what that word is? Moedim. Okay, it says at the feast. On the feast will be the end time.
So, what he's saying is we're both saying the same thing. This day was determined before that day was created. You follow me? This is what the Father said, before I have day one, I've got the last day already decided. When it's going to be and how it's going to be.
Acts chapter 17, verse 31.
Okay, now, I know we got to conclude it 10 after. This is, like I said, this is the chart Rick and I did, okay? And I couldn't have done it without Rick, I'm sure. Rick might have could have done it without me, I don't know. He might could have. But this is our teaching what we think. This is day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. Whether we're not saying sell the farm, okay? We're not saying sell the farm, go to the mountaintop. Because,
Give me the money.
yeah, just give Jerry the money for you go. We are saying that we are within, and counting the time as best as we can with the scriptures, and where the scriptures catch up to regular history, this is the best time that we can find that the 6,000 years does conclude. Is that the end? Maybe. Is it not? Maybe. It will conclude within the next 12 years. Now, the first time we did this, I'm going to tell you that we got to the end and there wasn't enough time. What I kept seeing happening on the world, there wasn't enough time for the last words of the book of Revelation.
Or Daniel, 2300.
Or Daniel, right, to take place. But if this concludes mankind and starts the dispensation of the millennial reign of the Messiah, then in the next, real soon, we're going to see a lot of brimstone hit the fan. We're going to see a lot of brimstone hit the fan.
We've always been taught it ends mankind, but it does not.
Right?
It's just a start.
It's a continuation.
Well, that is great, Jerry, because right here starts a new dispensation at the death of Noah. Starts a new dispensation. At the death of the Messiah, starts a new dispensation, starts the time of the Gentiles. Yes, this could start a new dispensation.
The millennial, the
millennial reign.
Labor to enter into that reign.
But there will be people living right through that. It's not going to be an end of mankind at all until.
But we also, you're right, I believe that, but we also know that if this is the end, we're going to see at one swipe, at least 2.5 billion people die.
Oh, yeah.
1/3.
More than
Yeah.
that. Probably
1/3. It says 1/3.
Yeah, so, I mean, if it is at 10 billion on 30, or on 2033, then it could reach 10 billion, and we would see 3 1/3 die. Yeah, Jerry?
I think it's good to note that if you read every place where it says he's going to destroy a nation when he comes back, every single one, not including any of the European nations, not including us, it's all Arab nations, all Muslim nations to be specific.
That's where the majority of the population's at? Either that or China. Yeah.
So,
Probably the 10 toes.
Okay.
So you're saying that we're actually in the year 1988?
No.
5,988
From beginning.
from the fall. From the fall. If you want to add 7 years to it.
Looking in out and the way we count time here now, so that would put us in the year 1998. Right now, we're 12 years away from completing 2,000 years on this side of the Messiah's death, burial, and resurrection. Correct.
Yeah, if you're starting from 4,000.
We're looking at this dispensation right here.
You're starting at 4,000. Yes.
Yeah. So if there's actually a 7-year tribulation period, with the last half of that being Yahweh's wrath being poured out on the earth,
right.
So then we're 4 years away from that possible 7 years starting.
Or
5 years. 5 years.
Yeah.
So
like Rick said, with
Give or
the
take a
potential
week. Give or take a week. Because that 490, that 7 there, we could be off by the mark on our pencil. We could have tried so hard not to overlap, and not to leave any gaps, but.
Okay.
So if Trump is president to the year 2020, and then if he wins it a second term, then he'll go through the year 2024.
I'm sorry.
Then the Democrats can take over. Then the Democrats can take over and destroy us in 1 year.
I'm sorry. Go again. I'm sorry.
I said that the next election takes place in the year 2020.
Right.
And then if Trump wins it again, then he'll go through the year 2024.
Right.
And then in the year, the Democrats take it over after that, which they probably will, then it would be 1 1 year before they completely destroyed this country and the whole world.
Well, Father will use who he has to.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the jury's point, I just wanted to, when you talk about Noah, right, and the preserving of a remnant, 8 people, right? So when it says the wrath gets poured out in the whole 9, Revelations 12:17 is basically this. This is the remnant. Those that have the testimony of Yeshua and keep the commandments. It's the remnant of the church.
Yes.
So the idea that the church is preserved through end times, there's only a remnant left according to Revelation.
Yeah.
And I just want to point that out. And I think it's very interesting the conclusion that you come to. 5 to 12 years. I don't believe it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence that everybody is in this room. That's all I'm saying.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
keep going.
Lisa?
No, I'll just, he has had his.
I'll take the 10.
A few years ago, in watching a couple TV programs, everybody was talking about the blood moons and all this, and
Right.
they were talking about the Shemitah years, and they were giving certain years at such and such time. And they were basing it on the things that were happening with Israel, like 1967, and they were saying that was a Shemitah year, and this thing happened, as you know, this.
Right.
So from then, if you say in 67 was when they were saying that was a Jubilee year that they took. Now this is just you bear with me. If you took it from there, 7 years would have brought it to 73. 7 years after that, so it would have brought then the next Shemitah, as in the next beginning of the next Jubilee, as in 2015. But if you, on this, are saying that the Jubilee was 1973, I'm just possibly,
hoping.
that would put then to 2022 as when the next Jubilee would begin.
20, well,
Yeah, well, so you're saying
the
you're saying
Jubilee, 73
Yeah.
would have marked the start of the next Jubilee. It would have been at the end of 73, but the Jubilee wouldn't have been
Yeah,
until that
because the Jubilee would have
spring.
begun
Until the-
in the
until spring.
fall of 73.
Right, so in 74 would have began the Jubilee. So,
So, you know, but that gives us to 2022 to 2023.
all this give or take,
You
give
know,
or take a
and
week.
there would be
So,
possibility of a Jubilee year. So it's interesting to know that your timeline is coming around and it's kind of falling in with events that happen with Israel.
Y'all don't have Monday on the last day of Hanukkah? Do y'all don't have Monday on the last day of Hanukkah? They dedicated an altar in Jerusalem?
The altar of stone, the stone
Oh,
altar.
okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
This last Hanukkah, the last day of Hanukkah, Monday, in Jerusalem.
Dedicated an altar.
Yeah, they put some stones together, but it wasn't necessarily the altar yet, because they don't have the sacrifice.
They also had a permit. They had a permit from the city to sacrifice a lamb on it. The park stopped them. That's like a national park, the Temple Mount. But they had the permit, they had the lamb. They were going to the altar with it. And the park official said, no, hold up, no, and wouldn't let them do it. Yeah, watch what's going on.
All right, Jerry's got a question.
Comment, confirming the 30 as the year. I tracked back to 30 and found that Passover was on Wednesday. Okay? Plus, if you go to the Jewish documentation, the Talmud, etc., it talks about in 70, there had been 40 years where the gates had opened and the thread had not turned light and all that. So, and if you go back 40 years from 70, it's 30. So it's a couple of different things that kind of confirm 30.
Any other questions or comments?
I know it's getting late, we're past.
No, you're looking like you want to say something.
I'll just say, I agree with Mike. It's
Look at the world.
I'm sorry, y'all, my back just hurts when I sit here.
Look at the world. I mean,
I'm just
what's the world
playing.
saying?
That was just between me and you, Rick. Thanks for throwing me into the bus.
They have certified a red heifer too.
They have
Have a
some-
red heifer.
They have a red heifer. And they have to have the ashes from a red heifer to put even the tabernacle up, a tabernacle up, or rebuild the temple. They can do either one.
Because of the
But
purified
hey,
lamb.
yeah, when you were saying that they didn't, the park stopped them, didn't they take that lamb somewhere else and
They
go
took it
do
somewhere
it?
else and did kill it, yes, yes. Okay,
Could that have started before 300 days or not?
well,
No, it
okay.
wasn't up to them.
No other questions? We've concluded our teaching.
Very good.